Welcome back, guys, to another deck guide. Today we are looking at Kuldotha Red, a mono red aggro deck that has been around for eons. This is an aggressive strategy here that basically tries to play to the board using Goblin Tomb Raider, Clockwork, Percussionist, as well as Voldaren Epicure. It does play a lot of other creatures, but we will get into that further down the line. It also plays the namesake card, Kuldotha Rebirth. This is a card that essentially puts a lot of creatures into the battlefield for very little cost, and then it can then utilise Goblin Bushwhacker to basically give them plus extra attack and haste. This is a great way to obviously give burst damage and just finish your opponent off as early as turn 3. Then finally, they have an array of burn spells. There is more than these in some instances, and they run Lightning Bolt. They also run Chain Lightning and Galvanic Blast. So these are essentially there to either finish off your opponent or pick off little creatures here and there to ensure you get through the damage you need to get through. These are really strong in this deck. This essentially then moves us on to flex slots. So there is a lot of flex in this deck if you want there to be. There is versions of old that do run Blast Runner and Implement of Combustion, and they sort of flicker in and out depending on how aggressive the breath weapony meta is. There is other cards like Reckless Lackey, which has sort of become a staple as of late since Clockwork Percussionists come out, as a way to be another goblin that also has haste, but also gives you card advantage if you need it. But most common lists nowadays are running Flame Breather. Kessig Flame Breather is a good way to have reach by just casting spells, going longer. Obviously, you've got Experimental Synthesizer in the deck. You have all these burn spells, Kuldotha, and you're just chipping away, which a lot of decks get rid of point removal, so the 3 toughness can be hard for your opponent to deal with if they're relying on breath weapon effects. Finally, there is the burn package. A lot of them is as is, with the 4 Galv Blast, 4 Chain Lightning, and 4 Lightning Bolt. Some do run End of Festivities, depending on how much the mirror or the 1 toughness matters. There is also Fire Blast you can see as a one of. You can see Reckless Abaddon, Goblin Grenade. All these cards are just really good if you are in a burn heavy meta. So that basically means if you can just go face and not be damaged or not be interacted with, that is a great way for you to use them to close out the game. Finally, there is Autonomous Furnace as another card that sometimes sees play in the land slot. It is a tap land, so it does have some negative effects, but it can draw you a card later on in the game for very little mana whenever you need to. So here is an example list. As you can see here, I have put the Kessig Flame Breather list up here because I do think it's the most popular right now, but there is other variations that do exist. Just a couple of tips and tricks for you guys. Experimental Synthesizer is probably the biggest and most awkward card in this deck, but basically, if you have a good turn planned out, a good trick is to not commit to a synth. A lot of people do commit to a synthesizer just because they can, not because they already have all their mana tied up and a good turn. Because synth, even though it is a 1-drop, commits you to basically potentially 2 to 3 mana, depending on what you flip over. And that can be basically lead to your good turn being an actual bad turn by you just playing synth. The other one with synthesizer is, if you are going to play synthesizer and you have a land in hand, play the synthesizer first, because you may flip a land over and you don't want to lose that card advantage, because that land in hand could be your 3rd land drop, or it could even be a card you can pitch to the Voldaren Epicure's blood token to gain draw when you need it. And I think, to be honest, apart from general aggressive deck tips, where you assess if the bolt's going to a creature to get more damage through over a few turns versus, trading off creatures for damage, which are generally good aggressive strategies to learn. So you will get this with the more reps you play this deck, is understanding if I need to kill that creature to get in an extra 4 damage, I'll then turn into another 8 damage because I can't deal with these creatures, etc. And Maximizing damage is also key with this deck, because Weather the Storm exists, so does quite a lot of life gain. So I do recommend, obviously, maximizing as much damage as you possibly can. And that is it for this deck guide, guys. If you have enjoyed this, please do not forget to like and subscribe, and also share the playlist if possible with everyone. I want this to be a playlist where everyone can see, and within the space of half an hour, get a good grasp of Pauper as a whole. And I will continue doing these with meta decks and eventually expand to the off-meta decks. And I am excited to do these because I really do enjoy them. So please do not forget to like and subscribe. And also, thank you guys for watching.